All right. So, continuing on with chapter 5 here. So, last time we added and subtracted fractions. Now we're going to get into what happens when we add and subtract mixed numbers. So, starting with the kickoff from last time, if we add these together, remember we have to have common denominators. So, our common denominator is going to be 8. So, the first one stays the same since it's already 8. The second one, the 4, we would take 2 times 4. So, 1 times 4 would be 4 on top. Gives us 8 over 8, which we could reduce and end up with 1. So, similar when it comes to adding mixed numbers, only there's a little extra that's going to go on because we have a whole number with those fractions. So we're still going to start by adding or subtracting those fractions. Again, you have to have that common denominator before you do it. Now, if we're subtracting, you may have to borrow from that whole number, and we'll come across one of those like that. Then you're going to add and subtract the whole numbers, and then you're going to simplify if you need from there. So this one here, 5 1/5 plus 3 2/5. So both of them are 5, so we have our common denominator. We're going to add those fractions first. So 1 and 2 makes 3/5. Then we go to our whole numbers. 5 and 3 make 8. And that's going to be as far as we could go. We can't reduce it at all. So make sure you have common denominators. Do the fractions first, then do the whole numbers. So if we subtract here, so 5 and 11, we're going to get a common denominator of 55. So, to be divisible by 5, it has to end in either a 0 or a 5. So 11, 22, 33, 44, 55 is the first one where we end in a 5 or a 0. So that's why it's going to be our common denominator. Now, we would take 5 times 11, so 2 times 11 is 22. Here we would take it times 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Now, we still have our 4 minus and our 8. Now with this, we don't have enough. We have 10, we're taking 22 away. So we're going to borrow 1 from our whole number. What that does is that adds a whole back in. So 1 would be 55 over 55. So we're really adding 55 to that top by borrowing. So what that does is that makes this 7 and 65 55ths minus 4 and 22 55ths. So 10 and 55 makes that new top 65. So we're borrowing 1. We're really going to add that denominator to the top because that'll make it a whole. 55 over 55 is 1. Okay. So now we subtract. Again, we do the fractions first. 65 minus 22 leaves us with 43 over 55. 7 minus 4 leaves us with 3. And we can't simplify that. So that's going to be as far as we can go with that one. Okay. So this one here, 2 and 5, least common denominator is going to be 10. So 5 would be times 2, so this will make it 8. The 2 would be times 5, so to make this 5. We're adding, we still have our 7 and our 2. So, adding, so we're ready to go. We have our common denominator, which is 10. 5 and 18 make 13. 7 and 2 make 9. We have an improper fraction here, so we're going to make that a mixed number. So make it a proper fraction here. So if we take a whole out, we'd be taking 10 away from our top, which leaves us 3 left over, which is going to add 1 to our 9 and make this 10 and 3/10. Okay. So still doing those same steps. So 110 goes in there, so that's what we're going to add to the whole number. There'd be 3 left over, so that's our new fraction. Now, what happens if you just have a whole number subtracted? Well, that makes it easy because technically this is 15 over, well, technically be 0 over 1, I should say, as the fraction. So common denominator between 1 and 4 is 4. So right now we have nothing with that fraction though. So we can't take 3 away from nothing, so we have to borrow and make this 14. We're really adding 4 to that, so our new set here would be 14 and 4/4 minus 6 and 3/4. So now we have enough. Now we can subtract 4 minus 3. Leaves us with 1/4. 14 minus 6 is 8. And that's how we end it. So if you think about it, that 15 is technically 15 and 0 over 1. So whatever this denominator is, that's going to be the common denominator. So if that's 4, that's still 0 over 4. So we have to borrow 1 to make it a whole 4 over 4. So then we can subtract. So let me know if you have any questions. Again, if you have trouble, let me know. You can always ask me a question on Google Classroom, Pan, email, any of that works. Remember, you can always go back, rewatch something if it didn't quite make sense. But please feel free to ask me if you're having trouble with stuff. So until next time, we'll talk to you later.